Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. Listen, scream, and embrace your horror obsession. In this episode, Steven is here to discuss Saw 2. How well do you follow a game's instructions? Can you work well with others? And how are you under pressure? If you'd like to follow us on any of our social medias, the links are in the description. Next week on the podcast is 28 Days Later. But until then, a movie that will have you remembering all the colors of the rainbow, Saw 2. Hello everybody, welcome back to Nightmare Echoes. I'm your host Elazar. I'm joined again by co-host Steven. Steven, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? I'm excited to be here with you today to talk about another Saw movie, Saw 2.
Yeah, it came out 2005. I watched the unrated version. It's an hour and 33 minutes. This time it was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. It was still written by Leigh Whannell and Darren Lynn Bousman, as well as executive produced by James Wan and Leigh Whannell. Since they made the first one, they will always be executive producers on these going forward, so they make some money going forward because they created it. This one stars Donnie Wahlberg from the New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, right? I forgot that.
Donnie Wahlberg is also a cop in Blue Bloods, so he fits perfectly in this detective role. Beverly Mitchell as Laura, Frankie G as Xavier, Emmanuel Vaugier as Addison, Tobin Bell as Jigsaw, and Shawnee Smith as Amanda returning.
You know what's funny? When I didn't look at the cast closely before I just started watching the movie, I was like, that's Wahlberg. Who is that? That's not Mark. That's Donnie.
His older brother, yeah. They're both musicians, though, or they started that way, right? Before they jumped into their acting career.
I also remembered that he was in The Sixth Sense, I think.
That's right. He was the skinny guy at the beginning.
Really, really good movie.
He was creepy
one of my
in
favorite
that role.
Movies.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's really good. This movie had a budget of $4 million and made $152.9 million in the box office. So, of course, there's going to be more. And there's 10 so far. But after the success of opening weekend of 2004 Saw, the sequel was immediately greenlit. Whannell and James were busy preparing for their next film, so they're unable to write and direct. Bousman wrote a script called The Desperate before Saw was released and was looking for a producer, and many studios rejected it. Greg Hoffman of Twisted Pictures, the original producers, received the script and showed it to his partners Mark Berg and Owen Knowles. It was decided that with some changes it could be made into Saw 2, so Whannell became available to provide the rewrites for the script, and the film was given a larger budget and shot from May to June of 2005 in Toronto. The movie starts with a character in a very dark room with a little bit of green light. He pulls a mirror over to see that there is something wrong with his right eye. As we pan out, we see that he's wearing a trap labeled the Death Mask. It's like an Iron Maiden and a bear trap put on your head.
There's something I wanted to say, though. Right before this happens, they had a very short opening credit that I didn't pay attention to because I was focused on these creepy lights that they had. And I just like these little details sometimes that these creative minds will throw into these horror movies to kind of set the mood and tone for the movie. Just wondering what the deal is with the lights. But before we talk about too many superficial things, I wanted to mention something fundamental to these horror movies, because horror movies have always evoked strong emotions in me, and it's not just scared or startled emotions, but something more fundamental, like deep down emotions of being human and certain innate needs being met, sort of the fears and the worries and everything that come along with that. But I felt like the Saw movie franchise exploits these emotions for the watchers, and Saw 2 is perhaps one of the best horror movies that does so that I've seen so far. But yeah, back to the opening scene where Michael has this bloody eye socket.
Yeah. So he screams for help, and then this TV comes on with everybody's favorite puppet, Billy. Now, what's interesting about this is that first movie, James Wan had built the puppet Billy, in his garage, and they said that they would save on money by just having him bring it to the set and using that one. He used it for the original short film. But he was disappointed that they didn't use the budget to make an even better Billy, but when they came to make Saw 2 and they had a bigger budget, they built a new Billy, and he was like, wait, why does this new director get a nice new puppet made, not my handmade one. But it looks very similar to the puppet.
I didn't even realize it was different. Yeah, but that's interesting. It looks really good. I liked that Billy showed up at the beginning. It's something like we were already familiar with from the first movie, even though the puppet might be slightly different. I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
And there's also the key line, do you want to play a game?
Yeah. So we find out that Michael here is an informant, but to Jigsaw he is unworthy. He wants to test Michael, and if Michael is willing to look inward to give up on the one thing he relies on most for living, which are his eyes.
Oh, the key is in his eye.
Yeah, he tells him there's a
messed up.
time limit, and the mask will close like a Venus flytrap. He shows Michael the footage of having the key surgically implanted in his eyes. If you watch the footage closely, there is a big clue to the identity of the surgeon that isn't revealed until the 7th film. So I'm not going to spoil it for you here, Steven.
Okay.
But because you haven't seen that far, right?
No.
Okay, all right. So he's only given 60 seconds, and while he holds the surgical knife to his eye, he can't do it and eventually just throws the tool in frustration. As the trap slams on his head, we see the title card Saw 2.
Well, he tried.
How would you do with
A
this
for
trap?
effort.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd cut my own eye out.
He really tried, though. Participation trophy goes to
All
the
right.
dead guy.
Yeah, it'll be put in the grave with him. So we cut to Detective Eric Matthews, played by Donna Wahlberg. He is there to pick up his son Daniel, who seems to have been arrested. Instead of saying thank you, he just complains that it took too long for his dad to get there. While they're walking outside on the pier, Detective Matthews is worried that they are going to press charges on his son for stealing. We learn that he is divorced, and him and Daniel do not get along. After they fight, Daniel says he just wants to go back to his mom's early, and Eric Matthews yells at him to just go. We cut to the next night where Matthews is calling Daniel, but he only gets his voicemail. He wants to let him know that he's sorry, and he's worried because he hasn't heard from him. He then gets a call. He thinks it's Daniel, but it's actually his sergeant who tells him that he is needed. He says, I'll be right there, and in the fun cuts that these movies do, he walks out of his room into the crime scene, right next to Detective Carey, who was in the first movie. Do you remember her?
That's crazy.
She led the other two detectives down and introduced them to the Saw traps.
Yeah. It's pretty cool how they transition scenes like this in the Saw movies.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what happened here?
I remember in the first one they had this transition down, but this might have been over when he goes from like...
Yeah, it's a little like, wait, what happened here? It's almost like a stage play, the way they did it, which is fun, yeah. He is told that the area has only been populated with homeless for about 2 years, and that the arriving officer called him because he knew that he was Detective Matthews' buddy. He's quick to correct that he's not a friend and he was just an informant. Matthew is told that they didn't get a positive ID, and he says, oh, I can ID him in 2 seconds if I just see his face. And then Carey tells him, well, that's the problem. He walks in to see the victim in his death mask, but he's able to identify him by the tattoo in his leg. Then he sees a missing piece of the shape of a jigsaw in his skin, so he knows that, oh crap, this is the jigsaw killer. They want to rule out that it's not someone with a grudge on Michael pretending to be who they think is the killer, and they don't want to say Jigsaw, it sounds like. Matthew says he's an informant, so his list of enemies would be very long, but Carey points out that most drug dealers don't have engineering degrees. He tells her that she is an expert on those cases, and he starts to walk out, but she tells him, look closer, Detective Matthews. He comes to ask, at what? And she tells him to ask whoever wrote it, signaling upwards, and then he looks up at the ceiling, and in red paint is the exact phrase, look closer, Detective Matthews.
Whoa, yeah, it's painted on the ceiling. And he looked pretty closely at the mask to notice Wilson's steel, I noticed during the scene. And so he's doing his work as a detective, but I'm surprised that he missed that blatant message to him.
We have another cool transition as we jump to Detective Carey at the police station watching the videotapes of Billy the Puppet when Detective Matthews walks in, slamming a copy of the tape down on her desk. She points out that it was not her that is taunting him, it's Jigsaw. He says that he doesn't have to take the bait. She says that she hoped to bring him in on the case, but he points out that they are not partners anymore. She says that he called him out, and he is telling her that a lot of psychos have called him out. Then she asks, what if it's her asking, but he says he can't help, as she is the Jigsaw expert. Then we see him dreaming about the case, which is disturbing his sleep. He wakes up realizing the clue, as he partially sees a piece of metal with the company name on it that you mentioned.
Wilson Steel, because he had really been paying attention to that. At least that's how the camera angle was made it look like Detective Matthews was looking at that. I'm always fascinated with these booby traps too.
Oh yeah,
they're amazing. I've always liked booby traps, and when I was a boy, I used to have these little booby trap fireworks.
I remember.
I
remember
do
camping.
with you.
No, but we tried to do one, right? We were camping by that creek, and it was that dried out creek, and we'd made a fire on the creek, and then we threw aerosol cans into the fire.
I didn't do that, did I?
Yes, we did.
Oh my
we
God.
did, right? It's me, my brother, and you. And we threw the aerosol can in there and spent the whole night waiting in fear as it was going to explode. And it never did until the next morning. It was just lying there next to the fire, and the aerosol can never exploded. So it was stupid.
Oh, that's crazy. I had these other little things. It was these pool fireworks, and you pull the string, and it would create some friction, and it would ignite. It would explode. It would have this small, like, firecracker type explosion. So I used to tie those on things, and one of the times I did tie it to a tent opening zipper. So when someone opened it up, it popped. But I love to put those onto like doorknobs and attach it to when someone would open the door, it would go off. But yeah, booby traps are fascinating.
Yeah. So he flashes a sign of Wilson Steel, and he reaches to his phone, and we cut to the next day where the SWAT team is raiding the building. Detective Rigg is telling the team how they're going to be in the building. And at first I thought Rigg was named after Riggs from Danny Glover's character in Lethal Weapon. But then I realized that he's named Murtaugh. So it was his partner named Riggs. So I guess it's not a reference. But I just thought it was a coincidence.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. We see Matthews is also there to work with Riggs, and she tells him, just like the good old days, Carrie passes him saying, I thought your caseload was big enough as it is. And he says he's just tagging along. They drive up, and we see inside Jigsaw is eating cereal and reading a book, which he is doing with that robe from the first movie. They burst through the door, and Jigsaw hears, but he doesn't seem to be worried. 3 SWAT team guys enter a set of stairs that are caged in, and obviously none of them watched the first movie because this thing is obviously trapped.
Another booby trap.
Billy the puppet comes up, and they order it to freeze. Billy laughs at them, and the doors of the cage close. The lead officer trips a trap, which sends out a stair to break his legs, and the other 2 try to pull him off, yelling officer down, and when they back up to the wall, they are electrocuted. When help arrives, the hurt officer is still on the floor in pain, and the other 2 are dead. The team storms off in the other direction, and we pass a lot of ideas for future torture devices in the franchise. When they find Jigsaw, they all point their Heckler Koch MP5A3 submachine guns at him, ordering him to get down on the floor. But he tells them he's unable to do that. That's when they notice all the medical supplies that are keeping him alive. Detective Rigg orders them to get him into restraints. They read him his rights and search him for weapons. Detective Matthews leans into Jigsaw and asks him, hey, is this close enough? And he seems pretty happy with himself at this moment. Detective Rigg orders the men to get him out of there, but Jigsaw says that he will need to remain there while Detective Matthews deals with his problem. He asks what problem that is, and Jigsaw tells him the problem in that room. Detective Riggs escorts Carrie, who is holding a P2269 9mm, and Detective Matthews with his Smith & Wesson 5.9469 9mm.
I didn't even notice the type of weapon
You just didn't see them and notice them?
Yeah.
So thankful.
Why is this important?
Oh, I don't know that it's important. It's just trivia.
Interesting
It's fun.
to know.
I like knowing what weapons they're using. Yeah. I like to be able to know different movies that we
That's
do,
pretty
the different
cool.
movies. But there's a
actually-
website called Internet Movie Firearms Database.
Oh,
that
right.
fans
I was
of
just going to
movies.
mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually were talking about this for, I think it was the Halloween
Maybe.
franchise movies. Yeah, we started talking about what type of weapons they had and how they were switching out the guns, and we noticed that.
So Riggs tests to see if the room is going to electrocute them before they enter, and I want to know, would you have gone in that room? Like, we just saw the other people
Absolutely
die.
not. Like the
right?
SWAT guys were out of line going up the stairs
So inside,
with a cage on both sides
Right.
of them.
and this room is a cage. Inside, Detective Matthews pulls down the tarp, which is hiding monitors. which shows a bunch of people stuck in a room. He says shit, which alerts the others to his problem, and then he shows them that he thinks one of those people on the monitors is his son. He goes back to Jigsaw, who is using an oxygen mask, demanding to know what that is. Of course, just like his detective character in Blue Bloods, he can come off a little aggressive, and another officer has to hold him back. He asks Jigsaw what he's doing on those monitors, and in hindsight, knowing what we know about the inn, the way he answers every question throughout this movie is amazing. He says that he hasn't been over to the monitors in some time, but imagine that Daniel's probably cowering in the corner. He adds that Daniel has 2 hours before the toxins start to break down his body tissue and begins to bleed from every orifice he has.
There will be blood, which I was wondering about that line. That was interesting. Yeah, so I just wanted to say, he's so somber when he says these things. No emotion. Like, imagine he's cowering in a corner, kind of. The way that he says it, it's just, he's not empathetic in any way.
Yeah. So then Matthews says, tell me where he is, and Jigsaw responds, he's in a safe place. We see on the clock that the time is 7:29. Matthews goes over to Carrie, who tries to calm him down, and he demands a phone to make sure. She hands him a flip phone, and when the voicemail picks up, it's now Jigsaw's voice, and they see a clock that is counting down, showing them that there's 1 hour and 47 minutes left on the timer, which is just like the first movie, because they had that timer of how long they had to kill Adam. An officer calls over for a bombing squad to come out, and Matthews is already crying. A little over 18 minutes into the movie, we cut to people in the house, which feels like the A plot of the movie, where this whole detective thing is like the B plot. In the room, we have Daniel Matthews, Jonas Singer, Gus Colin, Addison Corey, Xavier Chavez, Laura Hunter, and Obi Tate.
So basically 3 men, 3 women, and Daniel.
And someone passed out on the floor.
Oh, there's more than...
Well, so Daniel, Jonah,
3.
Gus...
Yeah, let's count them.
Xavier, that's 4 men.
Counting Daniel.
Oh, did we say
men.
Obi?
Yeah, I didn't count Daniel.
Daniel, Jonas, Gus.
So Daniel,
Xavier, Obi, that's 5 men.
Okay.
And Addison, Laura, and the woman passed out on the floor is...
Got it.
So there's 8 total people.
8 total people.
Right. Laura is pacing. Daniel is cowering in the corner. Jonah is trying to wake up the woman on the floor. Addison is trying to open the door. Gus looks like he's struggling to stand up, holding himself against the wall. Xavier looks worried, and Obi has his head down on the mantle. Addison wonders if this is a jail, but Jonas, who has done a bunch of time in jail, knows it's not. Laura points out that there's a camera saying that someone is listening, but Daniel jumps in to say that those types of cameras don't have sound. And if we think about the scene where he was waiting for his dad to show up, there was a camera. So since he's kind of been in waiting rooms like that, waiting for his dad all the time, he knows that those cameras don't have sound. Gus starts to freak out and is the first to say they've been kidnapped. And he talks about a case where people were taken overseas and held 9 years in a locked room. Xavier acts like 9 years is nothing, and that seems to freak out Laura. Addison hears something, asking them all to be quiet. That's when the woman from the ground gets up, and it's Amanda Young, our survivor of Jigsaw from the first movie, who was the one in the reverse bear trap.
The one thing that kind of caught me off guard was 9 years is nothing. I was already thinking, at least this one man, he's been in prison before, and that's why he's saying 9 years is nothing.
For a long time.
Yeah, I was thinking that there could be other prisoners there too, but that character came across to me as definitely having served prison time.
So right off the bat, we know that Xavier and Jonas have already talked about prison time. So Amanda wakes up, she's vomiting. She asks them where she is, and they tell her they don't know. She starts to freak out, and Jonas tells her to calm down. She tries to open the safe, and the group doesn't know what she is doing. She continues to search until she comes across some loose bricks. Her hands shake as she pulls out a familiar tape player, which all the main players are given in the first film. Jonas wants to know what it is, and she tells him that everything they need to know is on it before hitting play. He tells them that he's giving them a chance for salvation, and if they earn it 3 hours from now, the house's main doors will open. But he tells them, unfortunately, they only have 2 hours to live, as they've been breathing in a deadly nerve gas since they arrived. This is similar to the Tokyo subway attacks that happened on March 20th, 1995. And the creator said that the difference is that those gases killed you in a matter of minutes. So they took a little bit of liberties in saying that the gas will slowly kill you in a few hours. He then tells them that the antidotes are hidden throughout the house and that one is inside the safe in front of them. They all possess the numbers to the combinations to the safe. They have to think hard. The numbers are in the back of your mind. The clues to the order can be found over the rainbow. They have to understand why they are there, and for that, X marks the spot. Let the games begin. So all these are like clues. If you piece them together, all this is like information that they could and should focus on.
So I noticed, though, that these Saw games are not like your typical escape room type game. Like, pretty much everyone dies anyway, and the game is just about playing it. And, I mean, there's nothing around there. So, like, even if they are paying attention to the clues, it's just going to drive them nuts. But
no, but if they would have solved it in this room, if they'd have said, let's work together, and they would have found what all these clues meant, they could have gotten away.
But see, that's what I thought in the first one. And then I thought, oh, he's going to get away. But he didn't get away anyway at the end. In the end,
He could have. If he'd followed the rules, he could have.
You think that?
Yeah, if he'd have killed Adam right away with the gun, I think the other guy would have come in and let him out. That was what he was supposed to do.
So that's a good point you make. Like, not just following one or two rules. You have to follow all of the rules perfectly.
Think everything he said in here tells them the answer.
Yeah, I think I would die every time I played a board game because there's no way I follow the rules that closely.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's interesting. And I can't wait till you've seen at least the first 7, because there's things you don't know yet that I don't want to ruin for you.
Okay. I'll keep watching them.
Yeah, okay. So afterward, the group asks who was on the tape and what he means by gas and how she knew where to find the player. They found a key with the tape. Amanda says they do not attempt to use the key on that door to the room, but being defiant, Xavier and Gus go to the door. Amanda tries to tell them it isn't a good idea, but they do it anyway. Xavier uses the key and Gus looks through the peephole, and we see on the other side of the door is a Ruger GP100 357 Magnum, and when he turns the key, the trigger is pulled and it kills Gus in that moment. It's really bloody.
First death.
There's a lot of blood everywhere.
It said not to use the key. It did. They talk about following rules.
Right.
They absolutely did not follow the rules on that one.
Hoffman's one of the producers of the film. He passed away before this movie came out. They said that in the scene, he was like the person throwing blood on the people when they were filming it. So after they got hit by Gus's blood, he was the one having fun throwing it on the actors, which I think is kind of cool. Laura gets blood all over her and screams. Jonah grabs Amanda, demanding answers. And when she says Jigsaw, he doesn't know who he is. Addison asks if he doesn't watch the news, adding that he's a serial killer. Daniel takes time to cover up Gus's head with his suit jacket. Amanda jumps in to say that he isn't a serial killer, that he's just testing them because he wants them to survive this. She then yells at Xavier, telling him that they have to play by his rules. Jonas asks again how she knows all this. She says because she played before, and we see the clip of her in the reverse bear trap, I guess in case you didn't remember that she was in the first movie.
The first movie.
Yeah. We cut back to the police where Matthews is pissed and Riggs tells Carrie to bring a tech team in to find out where the feed is coming from. Matthews asks what Jigsaw wants from him, and he says that all he wants is time, adding his son is in a lot of trouble. He tells him that what happens if he gives him time, and Jigsaw says all he wants to do is talk to him, but that everyone else has to leave. Matthew says this is a crime scene, no one can leave, but he says they don't have to leave the building, just the area. Jigsaw tells him if he does what he wants, he'll see his son again. Matthew threatens him, but Jigsaw tells him that he's a cancer patient and asks how Matthew could ever put him in more pain than he's already in. Matthew goes to Carrie and Riggs to tell him what Jigsaw wants, and Carrie thinks he should just talk to him, but Riggs wants 5 minutes alone to go old school on him, but Carrie thinks a phone book method won't work on him. She replies that he's already lost his son because he got involved with her, and she won't let him lose his son again. So we find out here in the moment that Detective Matthews and Detective Carey were sleeping together when he was married, and that's why he's divorced, and that's how he lost his son. So, interesting backstory.
Well, yeah, so like the family, it sounded like they were splitting up, Detective Matthew and his family, because of what happened.
Yeah. At the house, Amanda is looking for clues while Jonas is repeating the tape. As if it was on a timer, the heavy metal door of the room just opens. Outside of the room, Xavier is willing to go on and find the antidote, though Jonas doesn't believe there really is one. Xavier says it doesn't matter because the house is made out of wood and it's not a fortress. Jonas wants them to work together. Xavier says he can come up with the game plan, but he's getting out of there. As he walks away, Addison, Daniel, and Jonas go a different way. During the scene, Amanda is trying to get the gun out of the trap but isn't able to. Xavier finds a door that says exit in big red letters, while the other three find a flashlight. Addison is the first to show signs of sickness, coughing up blood. As the three make it to the front door, Xavier is ready to use the key on the door, but he's trying to stand to the side of it in case it shoots him too. A couple of them tell him it's a bad idea, but it doesn't fit the lock anyway, and he throws the key and Jonas picks it up. Matthews is finally ready to talk to Jigsaw alone, and we see that he has a walkie-talkie that is set up so that the team could hear him. Jigsaw says...
He sets it down on the floor right beside him like Jigsaw isn't going to notice.
Right. Jigsaw says his catchphrase, "I want to play a game," and starts to explain the rules. "All you have to do is sit here, talk to me, and listen. If you do that long enough, you will find your son in a safe and secure state." He tells him that his name is John, and Matthew says he thought he'd like to go by Jigsaw, and he says that was the police and press that coined that term. He says that the piece that Jigsaw cut from the victims was only ever meant to be a symbol that the subject was missing something, the survival instinct. Matthews acts bored right away and wants to know about his son. John starts quoting the proper way to conduct a line of questioning, and Matthews tells him that it's hard to follow the manual when it's his son. Jigsaw throws in his face that he usually wants to break his jaw with a flashlight. Matthews says that John does know a lot about him. John asks him how it feels to sit behind a desk, asking Matthews to get him a glass of water. Back to the house, Xavier is armed with a bat with nails in it like Negan from The Walking Dead, and is trying to destroy the exit door.
I thought this was great. Yeah, so he's smashing it apart, breaking through this wooden exit door, only to discover there's like a stronger metal door on the other side of the wood. Oh. So, now wait, I was wondering at this point, with the nerve gas in the air, is that an exterior door where they could like breathe through the holes?
Man.
And maybe I thought about that, but then I was like, maybe the gas is also on the other side of the door. I wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought.
I think it's only inside the house, but it's not leaking enough out for it to matter. One person, I guess, could be breathing through the door. Maybe. If like they found a straw.
Hang out next to that.
Some of them are already getting sick.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, if there's gaps in the steel door, they could possibly breathe through it.
It's worth a shot. But then I think they'd all kill each other trying to be the one to breathe.
Knowing this group.
Addison calls him out on his macho bullshit, and he calls her a whore. A lot of his lines here were ad-libbed, and they just kept letting him throw out random insults all the time, and they thought there were a lot of good lines.
This is Xavier?
Yes.
The character?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought his character was definitely... His personality was super strong, super macho. Obviously, we know he's served prison time, so like he's got this rough side to him.
That's when Amanda and Laura make it up, and Amanda turns on the lights. Daniel asks if they found anything, but they haven't, and Obi joins the group, walking in slowly. Jonah is trying to work on the clues to the trap and figures out that most of the group have served time. Him and Xavier have done a stretch in the same facility. The tape says that they have more in common, and he wants to figure out what that is to help them. That's when Laura finds a door that will open by pressing it. She's afraid to pull the door open, and Xavier is willing to go, but says he needs the flashlight. He seems annoyed when Addison hands it to him and snatches it out of her hands. They all follow down, and they find a body that looks like it's been dead for a while, but I think it's supposed to be a mannequin.
It looks like a dead dummy, yeah. Like
it's a mannequin. Okay, yeah. It has a knife inside of it.
But also a sign that says Obi, which is another one of the
characters.
The guy's names, yeah.
And then Xavier's great line is, "What the fuck's an Obi?" Inside is a tape, and when they play it, Jigsaw tells him he wants to play a game, saying that if he wins, Obi will get 2 syringes, one for him for helping him kidnap the others, and one as a gift to somebody else. He tells him that one of the syringes will come with a price, and to remember that when you are in hell, only the devil can help you. Of course, the rest of the group is pissed. Obi tries to pretend ignorance, but Laura speaks up saying that she remembers him as the last person she saw before they woke up there. Xavier wants to kill him if he doesn't show them the way out, but Addison is the smart one in his situation, saying that they have 2 antidotes in that oven, implying that Obi should go in there. Xavier puts the knife against his throat, telling him to go in. Obi, in an insane grabs the knife and drags it against his own neck, telling him that if he's going to threaten him, he might as well cut him a little. So Obi's like, I'm not scared.
Right, that's crazy. Yeah, so it wasn't clear to me, how many people did Obi actually kidnap here? Because
I don't know.
One of the women sort of have a flashback of
Right.
where he was kidnapping them, but it sounded like he might have kidnapped maybe all of them, possibly.
I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
I think throughout the movies you find out who are and who are not Jigsaw's disciples. So he has more help that we never see in these movies through people that follow him. And that's all I will say, because I don't want to ruin any of that for you. Yeah.
We know it. Yeah.
We know of one
We know one
by the end of this movie. Yeah.
So one other thing that I noticed here is when he went in the oven, I was thinking of another movie he did a podcast on, which was Escape Room.
Yeah.
They have sort of this oven scene in there, and it reminded me a little bit of the Escape Room shot. But Escape Room came out after this movie. So
Yeah. And also podcast-wise, this episode's going to come out way before the episode on Escape Room. No, you're
you
good.
can cut this out.
No, that's fine. To good look ahead. Escape Room will be our Thanksgiving episode this year.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. No, I see the parallels. I like it. So inside the oven, he goes over, pulls one syringe off, doesn't inject himself right away. When he pulls the second one, it slams the door shut. But if he had tried, he should have been able to unhook it from the chain without pulling the chain down. Also, on the right was a sign that showed you how to turn off the gas for the oven. So it wouldn't have started.
Though.
Yeah,
he's
of course.
panicking, so like he's not even thinking about following follow the rules.
He would have lived. He would have lived.
He would back to the original.
Door wouldn't have closed. The fire wouldn't have come
Exactly
on. He would have had an
follow
antidote because he would have
perfectly.
shoved him right away. And then I'm presuming that Xavier and all his macho bullshit would have taken the other syringe for himself at this
Right.
point. Yeah. So he pulls down the second syringe. The door closes. The fire starts. The door becomes too hot to touch. Jonas tells them to use a coat. Daniel tells the group that there's a window on the other side, and Xavier is trying to break the window. Unfortunately, he's able to only get one head and arm out, and he doesn't really fit, and the group have to watch as he's burned alive. Afterward, Xavier is pissed about the needles, which have burned. Amanda grabs a pipe and storms upstairs, yelling to the group that he had a choice.
Xavier's so selfish here. Like, he doesn't care about Obi's life at all.
Yeah.
He's just like, I don't have the antidote. Who cares that one of the person died?
And in the director's commentary, they point out that Amanda's always grabbing weapons, but then they're not in her hands in the next scene. So she grabs this pipe to have it, but it disappears when she gets upstairs, which I didn't notice.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. So back with the cops, Detective Rigg is upset that another one died because he could be beating the information out of John, but Carrie tells him that they're making the right play. John is talking to Detective Matthews about survival of the fittest, and it doesn't apply anymore since the human race has no drive. Detective Matthews can't stay calm and just talk, and doesn't understand what John wants.
Yeah, John's definitely playing psychological game with Detective Matthews here, but I think that it's more interesting to me than the other brutal games in the house, because clearly Matthews is emotionally distraught, as any father would be, but more so because of the last interaction which he had with his son Daniel, which he had talked about, where Detective Matthews tells Daniel, "Well, then go," angrily. And so to make things right in Matthews' head, I think he's trying to like reconcile this relationship to his son and sort of taking it on himself to do more than he would have otherwise.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of another movie that I'd seen in the past, Reign Over Me. It was a movie with Adam Sandler and Don Cheadle, I think, where they talked about how a man's family had died in an airplane crash during 9/11, and the fact that the last conversation he had with his family was sort of heated. It was about remodeling a kitchen or something trivial like that, and the fact that he just couldn't get over it. He just keep remodeling the kitchen over and over again because he was just trying to make it right in his head. And I think the similar type of emotion is seen here by Detective Matthews when he's talking to John.
Yeah, that's good. John asks him what he thinks the cure for cancer is, and he replies that it isn't murdering people. John gives him the same bullshit answer he always gives, saying that he's never killed anyone. Matthews tells him that putting the gun to someone's head and forcing them to pull the trigger is the same thing. John then asks him when force became a problem for him because he beats his suspects. John accuses Matthews of not really loving his son until the moment his son's life is at stake. John then goes on to tell him that if he told him the time of his death, it would shatter his world, saying that he knows. And we get a flashback of him going into Dr. Lawrence Gordon's office. We don't really see Carrie Elwes, though.
Whoa. Dr. Lawrence Gordon from the first movie.
Right.
The oncologist was Dr. Gordon in the first movie.
And then we see him sitting in his car thinking. Matthews tells John that he can still fix this, and John asks if they can fix Detective Matthews because John himself isn't fixable because he has cancer. Matthews says he's only using cancer as an excuse to do what he does, but he tells him that the cancer is the only way to get the motivation to end his own life. Then we hear a car crash, and we see the aftermath where his car is upside down, but he is still alive. He tells Matthews he tried to kill himself, but he failed. He said he drove his car off a cliff and survived.
Well, one thing that John said here was, I was determined to spend the rest of my days testing the fabric of human nature. So, like, after he survives this crash off of a cliff, he's got a different perspective.
Yeah, so Detective Matthews storms off, and I have to kind of sympathize with him because I do get tired of Jigsaw's bullshit as well.
Oh, those who don't appreciate life do not deserve it.
That's insane.
At this point in the movie, I should mention, I took a break to take care of my son.
Yeah, right. That's funny. Detective Carey calls the tech team, who says they're 15 minutes out, and we cut back to the house. Laura is sick, and she can't find the energy to stand up anymore, and actually passes out for a little bit. Daniel tells her it's a better idea to keep moving, and she says this is the second time she had to wake up in this shithole. She starts crying because she had so much left in life to do. Daniel starts asking Amanda about surviving Jigsaw and asks why he picked her. She says that she was a junkie, and we get a shot of her with long hair shooting up, and he asks if she passed the test while she's back. She says she wasn't being very good to herself, and we get a shot of her with short hair like she is now, and she's cutting her wrist. Daniel asks when she started shooting up, and she says that she started in jail. When he asks, she says she was arrested for possession, which doesn't make sense. So he asks about that, and she says that he should talk to the cop who arrested her.
So we don't know who that cop is yet.
Right.
At this point. But it sounds like there's another character, though, that's been to prison. So we've got a lot of these characters going around that have been to prison, and we have Daniel, who's like the one-off guy in there.
Right.
A detective's son, which is odd.
So she asks if he's ever been arrested, and he says he's been in trouble a few times, almost slips saying that his dad's a cop, but instead says his dad is a real hard ass. He says he probably has half the city looking for him just so he can kick his ass for disappearing. I thought that was funny.
So it's not looking good for these folks that are running around in the house. We're down one man. The men are definitely not doing well. One is sluggish, the other's bleeding badly. One woman is very lethargic looking and sleepy. And I noticed at this point, Daniel had some red marks on the side of his neck, which was strange. I couldn't figure out where those came from.
I think, if I could theorize for a little bit, is that Daniel was given the antidote before the game started. Because him and Amanda...
He didn't bleed.
He didn't bleed.
Not like the other characters.
He doesn't get sick like the other characters. Neither does Amanda, right? So I think those could have been injection sites from where he was given the antidote.
Okay, that's
so
a good
that he
theory.
could survive this.
That's good.
Because the game wasn't really for him; it was for Detective Matthews to survive the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're gonna find out more as this goes along.
It's great. I love it. This is a really good. I mean, it's up there for one of the best Saw movies. There's 10 of them. Oh my gosh. Anyway, then we get the only jump scare of the movie. I feel like Amanda turns around and Jonas is right there. He tells her he's found a door on the second floor, and they follow. Daniel has to wake up Laura again, and they bring her along. Jonas says it's the only door with a lock, but he can't get it open. Addison is trying, and Xavier pushes her out of the way right before coughing up blood. Amanda tells him if the door is stuck, it is a trap, but he says the whole house is a trap. He shoves, and we see the shot of the top of the door, which shows that it is connected to a pulley system. When it opens, a big metal door on the other side has a 4-minute timer on it, which starts counting down. Xavier tries to brute force the metal door, and Jonah grabs the tape with Xavier's name on it. He says he wants to play a game, which is similar to the one that he played with the drug dealer. He said that he preyed on the desperate, and now Jigsaw feels that Xavier is desperate, and he's going to let him crawl through a pit of squalor. Daniel pulls the blanket off the bed in the middle of the room, and just the springs there, no mattress. They move it away to see that under this is a pit of syringes with needles, and he said finding the key to the door will be like finding a needle in a haystack. But we see these thousands of syringes that are down there. Behind the scenes, they bought all these syringes with needles, and they pulled out the needle and put this like fiberglass plastic on there. But after they'd done several hundred of this, someone else in the crew goes, "You know you can buy syringes without needles in them, right?" So after so long, they started buying syringes without needles and saved them a big step by just adding the plastic fiberglass, which is fine. But they also had to add this like oil kind of to make it slick and move around because it was hard to like swim in the syringes kind of.
Okay, yeah, it looked like it had like biohazard type material on
my
them.
gosh, it's gross.
I was just thinking like, oh, what kind of diseases
so
is someone gonna get if they go in there?
So Xavier, I mean, obviously I don't like him, but just to make sure we don't, he grabs Amanda, lifts her up, and throws her in there.
The ex-addict of all people, right?
Right, yeah.
Who is, yeah.
She screams and instantly has needles inserted all over her body, and this is stuff right out of my nightmares. I work with needles at work, but the idea of having them all stuck, like, She just screams. Xavier keeps telling her she needs to look around, but she doesn't have time. She screams.
She does find the key, though, eventually.
Yeah.
But it's not in time.
Right.
And they didn't get the door open anyway. And Daniel, he really steps up here. He tries to help her the best he can.
Yeah, he pulls her out of the pit. He starts pulling needles out of her body.
But Xavier says, "Others are holding me back." And I was like, what?
He should have jumped in
You already don't like him.
Yeah.
And now he's saying stuff like this. Like, you're holding me back because you're dying or you're hurt in a pit of needles. Like, what is that about?
Xavier wants to attack Amanda for being too slow, but Jonah steps up. Addison tells him to stop his bullshit. Addison adds that because of the details of the tape he knows about them, Laura says that she's also been to jail, so that they all have that in common, though we don't find out why she was arrested. Jonas asks Daniel, but he says he's never been to jail. Back to the cops, Detective Rigg is upset that the tech team hasn't arrived yet, and Detective Carey gets the idea that if Matthews threatens to destroy John's work, he will get to him. So he goes and starts to destroy John's work, and John's saying, "How will you get your conviction without all this evidence?"
That's crazy, yeah. He's planning to destroy John's work to get at John. But I think John's work is actually getting all of these detectives, prosecuted criminals in the same room as the detective's son, and then having Detective Matthews play his little psychological game out there. So, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No, it's all in vain.
John tells him what he's doing will not save his son, and he replies that if he kills his son, he will kill him. This also doesn't bother John since he's already dying, and he says that Matthews is the kind of guy that will gun down an unarmed suspect and plant evidence to obtain a conviction. Adding that Matthews is the type of person for his wife to leave him and his wife hates him, which really gets into Matthews' head. That's when the tech team arrives. John tells him that there's something that he hasn't told Matthews yet, but he's willing to just show it to him. But since he's handcuffed, he's wondering if he could just ask people listening on the walkie-talkie to get it for him in the brown desk second drawer down. And so we know that Jigsaw now knows about the walkie-talkie. Detective Carey pulls out a file. Matthews runs over to see the file contains the people that have been arrested and is one that he planted evidence to obtain all the convictions. John keeps talking, and he tells them that his son is playing a game with a lot of people that really don't like Detective Matthews, and it would be a shame if they all discovered who Daniel was. So Xavier gets back in the room that they started in, and Xavier notices that on the back of Gus's head, we play back the tape, and he pulls back his shirt and reveals that there's a red number 2 there. That's when Jonas walks in, starts vomiting up blood. Jonas tries to ask Xavier to join together to figure it out, because Jonas says he has enough enemies outside, and he doesn't need any more.
So Jonas and Xavier get into a brawl here. Just put it lightly. A fight breaks out between them, and it's it's so silly because it's so superfluous. They're both already dying. If one of them kills another, it might be even considered a mercy killing at this point. I mean, Jonas had just thrown up blood everywhere.
Well, if Xavier just shared the information and said, hey guys, we all have numbers on the back of our neck, they could have pulled together to get that safe open.
That's a great point.
And they could have then maybe noticed that there's a trap door there and escaped that way.
And I think one of the other characters brings that up later, like, just tell us the number and who's going to... Because they have to find out the number on the back of Xavier's.
Right, he's got to find out his own number. How's he ever going to figure it out? Right. So Xavier tells him that he's fine on his own. He orders him to turn around. Xavier pulls out a knife, but Jonas can fight, punching him in the gut and kneeling him, sending his head into the safe in the room. While he goes on the ground, Jonas kicks him twice. Unfortunately for Jonas, he gets sick in that moment, and Xavier uses it to the bat of nails in the back of his head, which kills him. He then pulls his shirt back to see a yellow 16 on the back of his neck. The rest of the group are walking through the hall when Laura collapses. Addison's trying to keep positive, saying that the door should open in an hour, but Amanda says they won't be alive. Then Laura points out X marks the spot. Pointing, Addison pulls a picture off the wall with a big crack in it in the shape of an X, and on the back is a picture of Daniel with his father. The back of the note confirms that it is his father, and Addison says that is the officer that set him up. Amanda seems to know him as well, but before they can argue, Laura starts seizing and eventually dies.
Yeah, she succumbs to the nerve gas.
Yeah. Addison says she can't trust them, and the two of them are now on their own. Amanda says they now know what they have in common, and Daniel tells them that he didn't know. Xavier starts yelling for Amanda, and she goes to him, leaving Daniel alone. Xavier goes to the basement where he knows that Obi died. Amanda finds Jonas's body. Xavier finds Obi had a green 11 on his upper back. Amanda goes back for Daniel, saying they have to move. Xavier calls for Amanda, telling them that they have found a way out. He finds on Laura's body a blue 8. Of course, right next to the body is the photo labeled father and son, which Xavier now has. We keep cutting back to Addison, who can barely stand, and Amanda and Daniel make it downstairs. Xavier is waiting there for them. As they run, we see Detective Matthews is watching on the monitors. We get some black and white flashbacks, stills of them together when they were happy. Detective Matthews and his son. Detective Matthews pulls out a Smith & Wesson 5.94 9mm, ready to force John into giving his son back. Detective Riggs knows what he's going to do, and Carrie also notices, but Riggs runs interference so that she can't stop him, telling her, we tried it your way. Detective Matthews starts punching John, throwing him around, and John only replies that it won't be long until his son is pissing blood. Matthews now breaks one of John's fingers, and that made me body cringe.
Oh,
like the finger sound, like all these people are dying, but you break my finger. No.
Detective Matthews is kicking John's ass, but you have to realize, like, this is the guy causing pain and suffering for dozens of people.
Sure.
So, like, it's not. Yeah, you don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that at this point, Detective Matthews is losing John's game of where the rules were just to basically sit with him and listen.
Yeah.
He's losing it.
It's interesting, right? Because Jigsaw is the bad guy, right? But he's getting beat up. He shouldn't be getting beat up per a cop, right? Per the law. But what I would find interesting is I can't wait till you've seen all 10 of these, because I think by part 10, you're going to be on his side.
That'd be an interesting
really
twist.
good at this.
Yeah.
Like writing is so good. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway. Addison stumbles into a room accidentally, and she sees a syringe suspended in a glass box with 2 holes where she could put her hands in. She pulls down a note from the tape and throws it without seeing who the trap was intended for. So we don't hear the tape.
Ingenious trap.
We don't need it, right?
It's such an ingenious trap. So, like, if the blades are only going one way into the box where the syringe is, which we could suppose that's the antidote. And so when you're going out against the blades, it's tightening around you and slicing into your arms or wrists or hand. Yeah. I don't know. Would you have been able to figure that one out? I think I would have,
if you stuck one hand in, the other could have pushed against the metal from the bottom, right? So you stuck one hand in, it gets stuck, but the other hand could have pushed the metal up, and you could have pulled it out, right?
Yeah. I think if I sat there long enough, I'd figure out some way, whether it's find a stick or a pole or something and poke it.
I know you could, because you ready for this? If you pay attention to the footage, The key was there for the lockbox, and it was already unlocked on the other side. You have to look at the footage slowly. And they mentioned in the commentary it was on purpose. And it's like someone's too greedy to get it. She didn't move around. If she would have went around to the other side, it was already unlocked. She could have pulled down the thing and just grabbed the syringe and bypassed the whole trap. It was completely there on purpose. So she's stuck. Both her hands are in these razors. She's bleeding. Probably will bleed out to death eventually. Xavier hears her crying for help. But unfortunately, when he comes in, all he does is pull down her neck to reveal the Indigo 9. She had already destroyed the syringe because when she pulled it up, the backing of the syringe fell out. And so the liquid's all there anywhere. So there's no antidote really left in the syringe. So Xavier can't get that. Amanda's able to get the Magnum trap door closed in the room where they all woke up in. We cut to Detective Matthews, who turns off the walkie-talkie so that no one can hear what he's telling John. And then he puts the gun in John's mouth, asking him to tell him now. Which, I mean, how is that supposed to work? If you have a gun in your mouth, you can't talk. when he takes the gun out, John tells him game over, and then tells him that he will take him to the house. But he said he won't take anyone else. He thinks that this is impossible. How would he get him out? So he tells Detective Matthews that there's a button over there, and when he hits it, the room that they have been spending this entire movie in turns out to be an elevator, and it starts to go down. The rest of the cops try to run to stop it, but it's too late, and Detective Carey orders a lockdown on the building. Just like the last movie, we get shots of the car and the camera shaking significantly to show them moving, which was filmed as a cost-saving method, but because it established the way car chases are done in the universe, they did it this way anyway, because that's just the way Jigsaw films look.
Yeah, keep it consistent.
Right. So right then, the tech team arrives, and it reveals that the feed is 237 North Hyde Crescent.
And so that's crazy. John and Detective Matthews are now gone.
Mm-hmm.
And like minutes later, the tech team finds where the feed is going.
Right, and 237, though, which is, right, is the room in The Shining where the creepy ghost woman was in.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
So that's clever.
So, right, so Detective Matthews is still hitting John each time he wants to know which way to go, and we see the SWAT team is on their way to that address. In the house, Xavier is banging on the door, which Amanda and Daniel are holding shut on the other side. He then tells them all he wants are the numbers at the back of their head. Amanda pulls the bat out of Jonas's head, which sounded gross. She is squeamish about it. She swings the bat in front of the door so they can help it stay closed because the nails are stuck to the floor. Back with John and Detective Matthews. John says it's the last house on the left, what the directors say is a reference. Amanda sees Jonah's blood stopping outside of this square under the safe, and Daniel and her move to push the safe, and unfortunately the door is locked. That's when Daniel remembers that the key that they found in that original tape recording, and they have to think to remember that Xavier threw it and Jonas picked it up. Daniel searches Jonas' body and finds the key, and Amanda and him open the door as we see John pull up to the house. Interesting, that safe weighed a few tons, and there's no way those characters could have really moved it.
I was wondering that myself. Like, that's why there was probably
8 of them.
Yeah, and the numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, how did they get it moved? It's
whatever. Just movie magic.
Yeah.
So Xavier gets the door open just as the trapdoor closes, and we see Detective Matthews get past a chained door. Through some crazy camera work, we keep cutting back and forth between all the characters. Amanda and Daniel are running through some underground network, and Xavier's looking for them. Detective Matthews is heading upstairs calling for his son, and he finds the picture labeled father and son. So you're right. He went to the right house. We see the SWAT team break down the wooden double doors and rush in, and Detective Rigg reports that they're at the house, but unfortunately Detective Carey reports back
wrong house.
That they're nowhere on the feeds.
Yeah, it's the wrong house.
As Amanda and Daniel keep running, they make it into a big sliding door inside the bathroom that looks very familiar.
Wow, yeah. Amanda and Daniel are now in the room from the first Saw movie.
Which, interestingly, the original set was in a different city and was destroyed after the movie. So they had to look at blueprints.
They had to rebuild
They had to watch the thing, and they were looking at like cracks in certain tile, and they studied that thing so much to rebuild that room perfectly that it looked like they made it to the original set. They did an amazing job of recreating that set. So that cost a lot of money. Okay, we see the broken mirror from the first one and the dead body of Adam. The movie plays the voice clip of Jigsaw, Adam, and Dr. Gordon and Zepp from the first movie to over-explain where we are. Steven, did you notice the difference in the toilet?
There was a heart on the toilet, but it was in both.
Yeah,
Right.
but someone finally flushed it. All the crap that was there is gone now. When Xavier gets to the bathroom, Daniel's passed out, but Xavier has trouble walking to them.
So basically, Xavier already knows he needs the numbers in the back of their necks.
Right.
And we already know he doesn't like working together with people at
No.
all. Rather than working together with them, I didn't see this one coming. He would rather cut off the back of his neck to get that number.
Yeah.
And right before this happens, though, I should mention, Amanda was trying to work with him. She was
Yeah.
trying to say, hey, I can read the number from the back of your neck. But he refused.
Right. Well, he was like demanding the numbers of the back of their neck. And she's like, no, you're just going to kill us anyway. And then she points out, how are you going to get your own number? But he then cuts off, he, like you said, he cuts off the piece of the back of his neck. Interestingly, he puts it in his pocket. Right? In the script, he was supposed to throw it, but he put it in his pocket for safekeeping, which I thought was funny.
I like that better.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
don't throw your number.
and in the commentary, they joked around he should have cut wrong and like got the wrong piece of skin because that would have been funny. He does try to use mirrors to get it, but they're all dirty. He can't see them. Okay, so as he goes to attack Amanda, Daniel gets up and slices Xavier's neck, and Daniel joins a list of people that are pretending to be dead in the Saw franchise because John pretended to be dead in the first Saw movie, and now Daniel pretends to be dead to get an upper hand in this movie. As Detective Matthews gets closer to the bathroom, we cut to Detective Carey, who tells Detective Rigg that she still can't see him. With the SWAT team there now, Detective Rigg calls all clear, and they come to a room with a chair and a big sheet thrown all over something. They pull off the sheet to reveal monitors, displays, and what Carey's seen. Then they pull off another sheet to reveal VCRs, and they are displaying this VHS tape. He hits the pause button.
And they're playing. So that's crazy. The cops find out that they're not only in the wrong house, but the feed has been playing on VCRs for the entire time. So they've been playing this feed. So now I was wondering, and kind of came to the realization that everything had already happened.
Yeah.
And everyone's probably already dead. Now Detective Matthews is in this house where these events had already occurred.
Right. So Saw does great at twists. Like every movie has a twist of some kind. And Saw movies do play with time a lot. And I do love that all the events of the house already happened. So John's like, I haven't got to see the monitors in a while, but I imagine your son is cowering in the corner. It's because he's already watched the events. He knows what happens. And he knows when you hit play.
Technically, he didn't lie, is what you're trying to say.
He didn't lie. No, he didn't. Which I think is amazing.
And he was cowering in a corner.
Right.
Anyway.
So Detective Rigg says they're in the wrong fucking house and that they have been dead the whole time. Detective Matthews makes it to the bathroom, which is still dark now. He sees Xavier's body. Then he sees a hand in the bathtub. He's worried that it's Daniel. As he pulls back a sheet, it turns out to be someone in the pig mask from the first movie who comes up and injects him with something. His vision fades and he passes out. Then Detective Carey is watching the timer hit 0 and the camera swing to show the safe next to the elevator open. Carey makes her way over to see that Daniel is inside wearing an oxygen mask. Detective Matthews wakes up coughing in the bathroom, which is still dark. He notices that in his hand is one of the tape players and he hits play. But in this twist, it's Amanda's voice instead of John's. Amanda goes on to say that he sent her to prison and she was guilty of a lot of things, but she wasn't guilty of the drug charges he framed her for. She then talks about her life being saved from Jigsaw's trap. She says that she found herself a father, and we get a clip from earlier of her cutting herself, but we see the camera spin to show that John's in the room. She then goes on to call him a leader and a teacher. We see John telling her she will need to get into that house. She then asks the same question that John asked earlier, which is, what is the cure for cancer? Then adding that the cure for death is immortality. By living a legacy, but living a life worth remembering, you become immortal. We see her bring Daniel into the house and helping John set up the game. We see Detective Matthews is now chained in the bathroom, and we cut to Detective Carey when she is telling him that Jigsaw asked for him. We get clips from different characters throughout the movie. Matthew's saying, "What do you want?" John saying, "I want to play a game." Amanda saying, "You have to play by the fucking rules." John saying, "The rules are simple. Just sit here, talk to me. And if you can do that, you'll find your son in a safe and secure place."
He didn't follow the rules.
And his son was in the safe.
Yeah.
Secure.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
Cowering in the corner.
We get a shot of the safe opening. A lot more goes on where we replay John saying that Matthews didn't really appreciate his son or value his life. Then we see John saying, "There's something I haven't told you." We get a shot of Amanda pulling off the pig mask, saying, "I will carry out John's work after he dies. Now you are my first test subject, and now you're locked away and helpless and alone." Then we see Amanda as she is now, with less disheveled hair, and a serious look on her face, and then she says, "Game over," and closes the bathroom door the same way Jigsaw did in the first movie. Matthews yells that he will kill her. We cut to John in the van bleeding all over his face, and he smiles as...
Sort of has this chuckle laugh.
Right. And so a lot of people thought that was him dying, but that is not him dying.
Oh, no. Yeah,
Right.
He's clearly... I mean, he survived driving his car off of a cliff.
Right.
He's just chuckling because he knows what's happening to Detective Matthews in the house. Why? Because Detective Matthews did not play by the rules.
Right. And Burn the Witch by Queens of the Stone Age plays.
Cool. I was going to say that one of the things that I noticed more in this movie than the last one, I don't know why it was the pig mask at the end. And then I was reading online that the pig influenced the Jigsaw puppet design as well, a little bit.
Okay.
And it was the Year of the Pig from China, and I don't know why that was. I didn't know if you knew anything more about that, or maybe we could explore that later.
They definitely covered in another movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting, though.
Yeah. So Amanda in the first scene that she's in is in the same position as John in the first movie. And John is secretly the one in the game that we don't know is running the game. And that is Amanda. And she's in the same position as John from the first movie, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
The reason the different twists work so well is that we are experiencing the events through the police and how they're perceiving them. And many of the items in the house are now in John's hideout, including Billy's tricycle. The X marks the spot picture is on the wall behind Jigsaw. And the bodies Detective Matthew finds as he walks through have been dead for a while. During the part where John says he's in a safe place, his eyes look down and they look towards the safe. So these are all clues to let you know things aren't as you're perceiving them. In the Saw 2 bonus features, Leigh Whannell talks about how he received an anonymous letter with a puzzle piece in an envelope. And inside was a person claiming that he loves the way they portrayed his work on the screen, although the actor that they used to play him has lighter hair than he has in real life. So they got a letter from someone claiming to be a serial killer that does this stuff, which was crazy. And they're like, "We don't support this." Yeah, and then I talked about it, but Greg Hoffman, who was one of the original producers, passed away before this movie was able to come out. But he's the one that originally saw the script and originally brought it to his partners, who decided to put up their own money to make a film. And later movies, they do name a character after him, another Detective Hoffman. So the shirt that Daniel wears in the movie is for a band called Wrath of the Gods, which there is a short about a guy who was Daniel's friend who was going around trying to investigate Jigsaw. The short is on the bonus features. People don't consider it canon, I guess because it's a crappy little short movie. But it's interesting that this guy's like, he's a real jerk. He's going around celebrating Jigsaw and acting like Jigsaw is a real hero by doing this documentary about Jigsaw. And it just happens to be that he's the lead singer of a band called Wrath of the Gods. And this character, Daniel, is wearing the shirt Wrath of the God. Like their band shirt, which is interesting.
Yeah. I wanted to say this was an hour and a half movie.
Yeah.
And I thought it was an hour and a half well spent. Like
it's
some
good.
movies just drag on and they're much longer.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like they're packed with good content. Like this was just packed from the beginning to the end. Yeah, definitely liked it.
It's definitely a movie up my alley because for the longest time I would say that my favorite horror movie ever was Cube, which is a bunch of people trapped in a building trying to get out. One of my more recent favorites has been the first Escape Room movie. I like that one a lot. It's just the type of movies that are a group of people, how they work together or don't work together to try to escape a trap that they're in. I do like those movies. And
okay. At this point, I still think Saw is not about escaping. Saw is about playing the game,
sure,
and you're going to die anyway.
maybe.
Maybe. I'm going to find out, right?
I know. I mean, you got a lot more to watch, and I can't wait till you see them all. Yeah, thank you everybody for listening. This has been Nightmare Echoes. We have new episodes every Monday. Thank you, Stephen, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I hope you listen to us next week. Bye.
Bye.